You've made it to the 9th gym leader. You know what that means. So today we're going to be talking about a deck that I originally made as a Colossal V and VMAX killer. Yet, it seems to be steamrolling a lot of popular decks, including Zacian ADP, Victini, and Eternatus. So why don't we get into this? So I'm going to be keeping the main attacker of the deck a secret until the very last second of explaining the Pokemon in this deck, because I don't know if you would believe it, unless you looked at the title, of course. But our first attacker is a Celebi, and it's the Amazing Rare. This one is going to run you a little bit more, but this is still a great budget deck. So we have Celebi Amazing Rare, and he's a 1-prize attacker, and the reason we have him in here is because of his 1 energy attack called Energy Press. It's 30 multiplied by 30 for each energy on the defending Pokemon. So it works like our main attacker, but for 1 energy, and he is a 1-prize attacker. So in case he gets knocked out, they can't draw more than 1 prize unless they have a modifier out. Next up is a pretty cheap Pokemon, unless you are going for the full art version, is Zarude V, and he's our main support Pokemon. He's a grass Pokemon with 210 HP and 1 retreat cost. I mentioned the retreat cost because we'll get into that later. And the attack that you're going to want to mainly be using with him is Jungle Rising. 2 grass energy for 100 damage. The damage is not really what we're working with here, but it's still pretty decent. The ability of Jungle Rising is what we're going to need to really look at here. So the ability is attaching 2 basic energy. Any energy you want, by the way. It doesn't need to be grass. It could be fire, lightning, water, whatever you want. To your bench Pokemon any way you like. If you heal all damage from those Pokemon. So you can attach an energy to one Pokemon, attach another energy to another Pokemon, and you can fully heal both of them. All while doing 100 damage, by the way. And it's only for 2 grass energy. That's not that bad. That Jungle Rising attack also creates energy acceleration for grass and healing, which I just explained, but that is the main reason for Zarude being out. And like I said, he only has 1 retreat cost, so wait till we get to that. And our main attacker, it is Orbeetle V and VMAX. He's our main attacker. So Orbeetle V we'll start off with. He has 180 HP. And his attack that we're going to want to look at here, other than Strafe, which is just switching him out, and he only does 30 for a grass energy, we want to look at his second attack. This is where we really start to see where this deck is going. So for 1 grass and 1 colorless, he does 50 plus 30 for each energy on the defending Pokemon. And he only has 1 retreat cost. Going to the VMAX, he has 310 HP, and he has an ability called Eerie Beam, which is 1 damage to all of your opponent's Pokemon. And that's once per turn. So if you have a way to switch out a Orbeetle VMAX to another Orbeetle VMAX, to another one, there's a chance for you to put 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, including bench, every turn. But that is a little unrealistic. In my experience, which is 10 games, and I've won 8 of them with this deck, I normally get 2. It's more consistently 1, to be honest, but I've gotten 2 off in the same games that I've gotten 1 off more. So it still works the way it needs to work. I just wish there was more consistent ways of pulling off 4 damage counters. But his only attack for the VMAX is 1 grass and 1 colorless. It's called G-Max Wave. It does 50 plus 50 for each energy on the defending Pokemon, and he still only has 1 retreat cost. Do you remember when I said, think about the retreat cost? Air Balloon is still in the game, meaning they have 0 retreat cost. Every Pokemon in this deck has 0 retreat cost if you put Air Balloon on them, meaning you can Air Balloon back an Orbeetle VMAX after using your Eerie Beam, and use another one on an Orbeetle VMAX, and then use Switch to do another one. Do you see where I'm going with this? So in a perfect world, here is our plan for the deck and how we would love the deck to run. And again, this is a perfect world. Doesn't always happen like this, but hear me out. We have Zarude for energy acceleration onto our Orbeetle. We would have Orbeetle perfectly set up if we have 2 turns with Zarude V in our active. And he doesn't even need to be in the active. we can retreat him out and pull him up later. Then we have Orbeetle as a very, very quick attacker. 2 energy for a no base damage attack where you're just adding damage for every energy on the defending Pokemon. In a meta where energy is so important and you're averaging 3 energy per attacker, so with an Orbeetle VMAX, you're doing 200 damage. Not to mention if you play gimmicky things like Leon to add another 30 damage, not to mention weakness, like with Colossal and Colossal VMAX. That's why I decided to build the deck as a Colossal Killer, because I didn't know when I first got back into this game a few days ago, I didn't know how popular Colossal V and VMAX would be. So I decided, okay, why don't we make a deck that could counter a possible deck that I'm going to see? Little did I know that it actually is able to kill Zacian ADP, Victini, and Eternatus. You can put a lot of pressure on your opponent's bench Pokemon with Eternatus to basically have them switch out to people that they don't want to switch out to Pokemon, I shouldn't say people, switch out to Pokemon that they don't want to, and then you can boss's orders up the Eternatus later on. That's what I ended up doing, and it worked out very well. So enough with the Orbeetle, let's get to Celebi, because a lot of the problems that this deck could have is not having another strong attacker like Orbeetle. But Celebi still does a lot of damage and still carries the weight of a good attacker. He only has 60 HP, which is a problem. He does have 1 retreat cost. He is a 1 prize attacker. However, he is our 1 prize fodder. And I hate to use Celebi in that manner, but he's a strong hitter too. He still technically is a strong hitter, 30 times 30 for each energy on the defending Pokemon. That's very good, and it's only for 1 grass energy. The second attack we're not even going to look at, because we already have a way to do the second attack without having to pay for energy, as you can see on the screen. The second attack requires 2 different types of energies, and while we play Aurora Energy in this deck, that's not what we're going to be going for. We're just going to be going straight for that first attack. So some of the essential trainers that really do make this deck go round are Air Balloon for free retreat, and you can get 2 Eerie Beams off in the same game. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't play Switch in the deck because Eerie Beam is not your biggest worry here. I have consistently had 2 Air Balloons out of 10 games on 2 Orbeetles, and I've been able to do it perfectly fine. I think 4 Air Balloons in the deck is more than enough. And then we have Turffield Stadium. Do you remember when I said we're not going to be using Celebi's second attack? Well, that's because we have Turffield Stadium. Being that nobody is playing grass right now except one deck that I did go against, which was a Vileplume GX deck, and that was really close. Literally, the next turn I would have had him if he didn't miraculously pull a boss's orders. That seems to be how that game went. We were very close, and the special conditions knocked me out, and I don't play aromatic grass energy. So that's where I kind of got lost there. But no one plays grass. Like I said, out of the 10 games, I only played against one grass deck. And it allows for evolutions of Orbeetle to be searched out a lot easier. I do play one Evolution Incense in this deck just in case. I've only ever used it once. Mainly, I'm using Turffield Stadium. And I only run 2 Turffield Stadiums in the deck. That seems to work. The only problem that I'm seeing is Chaotic Swell. So I may add a third Turffield Stadium in here. I'm not sure if I should. And when I say essential trainers, you can look at Leon as kind of essential, but I'm not seeing him essential. I did use Leon to knock out a Zacian to counter for the resistance, because I had just enough to knock the Zacian out with his resistance gone. Well, Leon makes up for the resistance, so that was good, and he just does 30 extra damage, comes in handy for putting more pressure on lower energy defending Pokemon. So if you're going against an Eternatus that only needs 2 energy to attack, with your Orbeetle, you're doing 150. But if you play Leon, you're going to do 180. I know that's not much, but it could make or break your next attack. So just something to keep in mind with Leon. Honorable mentions of the deck go, of course, to Boss's Orders. Everybody plays Boss's Orders, so that's why I kind of put him on the back burner, because I have a feeling everybody mentions Boss's Orders. I'm going to mention it just because I know it's in there. Marnie, Professor's Research, and Quick Ball. Quick Ball is essential for any deck, I feel. This deck, it really helps to search out your Amazing Rare Celebi, your Zarude, and your Orbeetle. Obviously, that's what you're going to use it for, but, you know, that's how we are going to use Quick Ball. And I'm going to be putting a deck list at the end of this video, and it's going to be listed in the description. So if you guys would like to play the deck, you can. But as of right now, we are just concentrating on the trainers. So those are the essential trainers that I like to use. Nothing else in here is super important other than like Tool Scrapper to get rid of Big Charm or Giant Cape. Nothing else really makes a problem for Orbeetle VMAX that I would need to use Tool Scrapper for. So coming to the results of the deck, my win-loss record, I play 10 games, and my win-loss record is 8 wins, 2 losses, 1 loss to a random deck that I honestly didn't even know what type of deck they were playing. It was like a stall deck with Snorlax. I only lost because of the way that he was able to get everybody out, and I couldn't kill him because he wasn't attaching energy. So, because he didn't need to. So I was only doing 50 damage, you know, every time. I lost to a Vileplume GX deck, and the reason I lost to him was because of the special conditions. I may throw in 1 or 2 aromatic energies just to be sure in case I ever go up against a, you know, a paralyzing deck or something like Vileplume GX again. However, my crowning achievements with this deck are my wins. I did beat a Zacian ADP. He was not able to get off the ground, especially when I put all the pressure on his Zacian right away, because he was able to Intrepid Blade, and I was able to hit him for about 200, I think it was. On the first turn, he had those 3 energies there. So I was able to hit him, put the pressure on the Zacian. He brings out his ADP. I pull the Boss's Orders out, bring up the Zacian, and he just resigned at that point. He was not able to get going at all. Victini, that was a little difficult because of the weakness, but I was just able to put the pressure because they played Welder a lot throughout their whole deck. And every time they played Welder, it was just me sitting there thinking, okay, yeah, keep attaching the energies. I'm going to use that to my advantage. I don't know if they picked up on why Orbeetle was doing that amount of damage, because if it were me, I wouldn't be using Welder. I would just be trying to attach energy as slow as possible, but make sure I was attaching the energy to essential Pokemon that could knock Orbeetle out. And another one I'm very proud of is Eternatus. I was able to beat Eternatus, even though he does have a low energy cost. I was able to dwindle down his bench to a point where he was at 6 prizes and I had 1 left. And for some reason, he pulled out a Galarian Zigzagoon. I think that was a very, very bad play because I ended up Boss's Orders and bringing up the Galarian Zigzagoon for the knockout and for the game win. So this is a very gimmicky deck, and I do understand the apprehensiveness in like wanting to play this in a tournament, but nobody would see it coming. I don't think anybody would see Orbeetle V coming, especially in such an energy-heavy format. And I look him up on TCG Player. I'll show you on screen right now. His price for a promo is like in the cents, and he's only like $1 or $2 out of the pack. So he's very cheap. Zarude, is, all depending on the version you get, is cheap as well. The main money Pokemon that you're going to be spending any money on is Celebi. And if you don't already have Boss's Orders, you're going to be spending money on Boss's Orders. But that's how every single deck kind of goes now with Boss's Orders. I really do like the deck. Nobody expects it. I give it a solid 4 out of 5 just for meme potential. Nobody expects this. And we're in such a heavy format, heavy energy format, that you can just clean up and before they even know what's going on. So again, 4 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend it. Check out the deck list below. And if you have any suggestions, please feel free to put them in the comments. See if there's anything that you'd like to test out. If you test the deck and you see something works, let me know. I'm all for any type of feedback on my decks or any of my videos. Feel free to message me. Feel free to put it in the comments. If they still had video responses on YouTube, if you've been alive long enough to remember video responses, shout out and below. But in closing, I would just like to say thank you for visiting the 9th Gym Leader, and I'll see you next time.